All right. We'll call this May 1st, 2017 agenda for the Newberry Planning and Zoning Board into session. The first thing I'd like to do is have an approval of the agenda. Before we approve the agenda, however, I did want to get this board's approval of me chairing this meeting. We lost our chair with the last city election. She was elected to the city commission, and so we are without a chair. I have suggested a change to the structure of this board to the commission, in that the mayor, if I vote on my feeling, my concern is that if the mayor votes on this commission, on this board, then that complicates my ability to then go and have private conversations with sitting commissioners, because now I've cast a vote. What I would prefer, and what I have suggested to the commission, and what I would suggest to you, is that we rework the structure of this board to add a fifth voting member, and I will continue to serve as a liaison so that I can report back to the commission. I think that's a cleaner, neater structure of how to go about it. It doesn't complicate. I don't have to come down and cast a vote one way or the other and then go and talk to sitting commissioners about what you guys talked about. That keeps me out of it. I can report what you guys thought, both sides, to the commission without having to have made a decision myself. If you guys, in essence, agree with us looking into that, then I could chair this meeting until such times of those changes are made. Thoughts? Mr. Boyer?
I make a motion that we accept you to chair this meeting and go through the next ones based on the recommendations that you just made.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Yeah. Is there any thoughts, ideas, questions about that before we have a vote?
Just with the addition of one more member, I know to be on this board, you either volunteer or fill out the paperwork. Did we have any additional applicants that weren't selected for the first round that would be available almost immediately for the second round?
Mayor Conrad had an application in, and we wanted to get our new members on board first. We felt that he would be able to sit out and take a vacation while we worked out the red tape of restructuring it, and then he's willing to come back. So we do have someone who is ready, willing, and desirous of being on the board, so we could fill that fifth seat immediately. Okay. If those structural changes pass. If they don't pass for whatever reason, we come into a problem with rules and procedure, then we'll come back and we'll need to elect a chair at that point. But until we get that figured out, we thought it might just be easier for me to go ahead and chair the meetings until that time. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
The motion was to chair only this meeting. Was the intent to allow you to chair until the change is made and we add the fifth member, and then basically the board would elect a new chair out of that pool?
That's what I heard. Correct. Is that what you, yes,
okay.
that is.
Make sure.
Okay. And that was the intent of the second.
Yes.
All right. Does the audience have any questions or comments about those structural changes? Hearing none, I'll have a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it passes unanimously. I was supposed to vote there. Aye. I'm going to vote until those changes are, but I'm going to be in constant communication with our attorney here. Okay, now we can proceed with the approval of the agenda. We'll have the approval of the March 6, 2017 and April 3rd, 2017 minutes. Under new business, item A, we have a quasi-judicial CPA 17-01, which is an application by Kurt Sieber. Did I say that right? Sieber? Agent for John P. Morehouse, owner, to amend the future land use map of the Newberry Comprehensive Plan from agricultural to commercial on 2.33 acres, more or less, located at 975 Northwest State Road 45 in Newberry, Florida. Item B is quasi-judicial LDR 1702, an application by Kurt Sieber, agent for John P. Morehouse, owner, to amend the official zoning atlas of the City of Newberry land development regulations to change the zoning on the following described property from agricultural A to commercial intensive CI on 2.33 acres, more or less, located at 975 Northwest State Road 45 in Newberry, Florida. Announced date applications will be heard by the City Commission. Is that supposed to be in that item, Brian? Or?
For both, yes, sir.
For both, okay. Then we have any topics from members to discuss, and then we will adjourn. Do I hear an approval for, or would anyone like to make a amendment to the agenda to include a pledge?
Yeah, I'd like to amend the agenda to include a pledge from this point forward.
Do I have a second to approve the agenda with that amendment?
Second.
Okay. Any conversation about the changes to the proposed amendment? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We will put the pledge as item 3. Is that right, Brian? As soon as we approve the agenda, then we can have the pledge? Or do we need to have the pledge before we approve the agenda? I think we just did, so we'll make it item 3 will be the pledge, and everything else will move accordingly. All right. Well, if all those who are able can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. The approval of the March 6th and April 3rd minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any questions?
Is this the one that Mayor Conrad objected to?
Ye-
Mr. Mayor, yes, the March 6th was the set of minutes where Mayor Conrad requested that additional discussion be put in the record as for the city attorney's concern that Miriam Steinberg had not been heard from in the application
and it was
process
added
for
into
Dillon's
this.
Grove. Has been added in, as well as the mayor's comment that he recommended that staff directly contact Ms. Steinberg.
Any other comments or questions about the minutes? And we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Passes unanimously. New business, item A. Madam Attorney, I'd read this first, or do you read?
Yes, you would.
Okay. This is a quasi-judicial meeting procedure. This procedure is to ensure that the applicant provides a complete presentation of their request prior to any testimony being provided by the staff. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. The procedure we will follow this evening is that we will first hear from the applicant with no time limit. The applicant will then be subject to cross-examination. The staff will then enter the staff report into the record and answer any questions. The applicant will have the opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony against the application. The floor will be open for public comment. Each presentation will be limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff. Then the applicant will have an opportunity for closing arguments. And finally, the public hearing will be closed. The commission will enter into deliberations. Who administers the oath?
I do.
You do. Thank you. Well, can you, we want to ask anybody who intends to give evidence or speak today to please stand now
Yes.
to be administered the oath. We'll get it all done at once.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the whole truth and nothing but the truth? Thank you. And before you testify, if you'll both just state on the record when you announce your name that you were previously sworn in. Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, at this time, I'll read my statement and we'll do our ex parte communication. Let's see. While we welcome comments from all persons with an interest in this proceeding, Florida law requires that the board's decision in a quasi-judicial action be supported by competent and substantial evidence presented to this board during the hearing on the application. Competent substantial evidence is that evidence that a reasonable mind would accept as adequate to support a conclusion. There must be a factual basis in the record to support opinion testimony from both expert and non-expert witnesses. Persons presenting testimony may rely on factual presentation or information that is presented by city staff that the applicant presented, or on a factual information included in the city staff report to support their testimony. At this time, I'm going to inquire of each member if they have received any ex parte communication involving this matter, which is an application by Kurt Cyber?
Seaver.
Yes, thank you. And if so, please disclose. We can just start down the road. Yes.
I have not.
No, thank you.
I have not.
I have not.
I have not.
Great, thank you.
All right. Staff, you have
So
the applicant, I'm sorry.
Yes.
If you got a little green light down there, then you're
Okay,
on.
There we go.
If you would state your name and, as the attorney said,
Good afternoon. My name is Kurt Sieber. I own an S-Chapter Corporation in Gainesville. It's Sieber Enterprises Incorporated, DBA, Top Shelf Interior Solutions. I'm acting as agent for John P. Morehouse, the current owner of the subject parcel that I intend to purchase with the intention of moving my business here to Newberry. I've been doing what I do in Gainesville for 27 years, and I'm in 3 different locations, and I've wanted to for a long time to get everything under one roof, and so it's my intention, with your blessing, to do that, to have the property rezoned from agricultural to commercial so that I can have my contractor build an approximately 8,400 square foot building on the parcel. There currently is a small concrete structure on the parcel. Is my intention to have that removed, demolished and removed. That's my goal, is to get my business out here into the Newberry city limits.
all right.
Is there anything I need to do now?
Does anyone on the board have any questions? Well, you have no time limit, so if there's anything else you want to say, you're feel free.
I'm good.
Does anyone on the board have any questions for the applicant? Chair recognizes Mr. Boyer.
Yeah, my only question, was, is it just a manufacturing facility? I mean, do you have a office consultation area?
That's an excellent question. Of the 8,400 square feet, 1,400 square feet is dedicated to offices, and approximately, a third of that would be showroom, open to the public, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. So we do need, I had a showroom on Archer Road in Gainesville, and I have 3 other locations, 3 other warehouses where we operate from, and so it's scattered. From a management perspective, it's inefficient, and frankly, we're in so little space right now, it's not even the safest situation. In other words, having this under one roof is going to be safer. Having a showroom open to the public again is going to be better for my business. So it's a combination of things, but a lot of what we do is just retrofit, like closet-made ventilated wire shelving. We install shower enclosures and mirrors, and a lot of that we just buy and assemble. There is some manufacturing that we will be doing, but it's a combination under the roof of all of those things.
Okay, then my only other statement would be, with the display retail type area, I mean, everything, I would imagine that your builder's going to build to ADA specs, you know,
Oh, I'm
American
sure.
Disabilities, make
Mhm.
sure everything's accessible.
Right.
All right,
Yes.
those are my only concerns.
Anyone else on the board have any questions? I had one. Are you bringing most of your employees with you? Will you be hiring anybody
No,
else with
currently
this position?
they will all be moving with me, but the whole purpose of this, or a large portion of the purpose of this, is because the economy's strong enough for growth, we're in a position for growth, and where we currently are and in the situation, it's very expensive to move my equipment. So I don't want to move, I'm currently renting a bunch of different locations. So, getting into a purchase situation and making the investment and moving all this equipment allows us to grow, and so there will be new hiring occurring.
Awesome.
I intend that to happen.
Okay. Any other questions from the board?
I guess one of the questions we always ask with the new construction, is this going to impact any traffic issues on 2741?
That's an excellent question. Currently, I have 12 plus or minus 13 to 16 employees. They would be coming mostly from Gainesville. Some come already from Bronson, some from Archer, so they're going to come from different directions. Delivery-wise, we probably get, on average, 1 truck a day, so not a significant impact. One tractor trailer a day of different flavors.
Mr. Chair. So I just wanted to point out, too, though, that this isn't actually the site and development plan. There'll be another hearing for site and development plan approval, which will address all those issues specifically. This is basically for the future land use change and the rezoning of the parcel. But the specifics of your questions will be answered at the site review.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right, the applicant can have a seat. We'll have staff enter their report into the record and answer questions as well.
Good evening. My name is Wendy Kinzer, Principal Planner, and I'd like to enter the staff report packet into the public record, and I have been previously sworn. This is an application that's tied to the next application. This first one is a comprehensive plan amendment. It's a small-scale amendment, which means it's under 10 acres in size, it's site-specific, and it doesn't go through the rigorous review process with the state, which is quite lengthy when they're over 10 acres in size. It can allow text amendments related directly to the site itself if there was something that you wanted to add for that particular piece of property. But what you're doing now is you're looking at the comprehensive plan amendment and wanting to change your comprehensive plan, which is like your master plan and or like the Constitution, and then you've got the land development regulation that you're going to change, the rezoning, the next application you'll look at, and that application is going to kind of be like the implementation of that Constitution, so your laws. So you have your comprehensive plan and your land development regulations. So this first one, the comprehensive plan amendment, once you look at that, and you're looking at that because this piece of property is located up on State Road 27, and it's sandwiched between some mixed-use future land use designation and then some other industrial and commercial land use designations to the south. And then across the street, across the highway, Highway 27, is a neighborhood, I guess, Newberry Corners, and is it Newberry? Which Newberry is it?
Newtown.
The different, looking at that because it's across the highway, you still want to make sure that you have less intense uses when you think of the industrial across the street from them. So if you have, right behind this property, you have the industrial Watson Construction, and that property, to provide a step down from that industrial down to the highway and over to the residential by zoning something commercial or a lighter intensity than the industrial, you help step it down and have less intensity going down to the road and then across and then over to the residential. It makes it a little bit more compatible as far as planning principles. In this case, we're just looking at changing the land use, and then if you were to approve that, then that goes on, and then you have the land development regulation, the rezoning that you can consider approving, and then we'll talk about that when we get to that application. But in the event that whatever action, if you take action to approve, then this plan amendment would go to the City Commission, and then if they approved it, then it would go to the state as a matter of courtesy to let them know what's happened and have them have a complete copy of the comprehensive plan at all times. But there is a 31-day waiting period after a comprehensive plan amendment is approved, a small-scale amendment, and then after that it's considered effective, and any rezoning that you've approved would be effective at that time, not before that. In this case, you have a comprehensive plan amendment you're doing, and then you're rezoning the property, and then after that you'll see it again through the site and development plan review process, where you'll have an approval process for that. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Does the board have any questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Does the applicant wish for the opportunity to rebut anything that staff has said? All right. We'll now open the floor for public comment. Does anyone have anything to say? You have 5 minutes. Hearing none. Would the applicant like to take your opportunity for closing arguments, or are you satisfied with how we've gone so far? Okay. The applicant did decline for a closing comment. All right. At this point, we will close the public hearing, and the board will enter into deliberations. Are there any other questions, comments, concerns anyone on the board would like to raise for this item?
Not specifically
Board.
this item, I guess, because I think it makes sense to change the land development plan based on the location of this. I just, long-term, worry about continuing to change agricultural zoned spaces to something other than ag, because once they're changed from that, they never go back. This particular parcel makes sense because it is land blocked by mixed use and industrial, so it would seem to be an appropriate change.
I agree. I think that area in particular has sort of unofficially been heading in that direction, kind of piecemeal. So this fixes one of those pieces in the middle of it. It makes a certain amount of sense. Anyone else have any comments before we call for a vote?
We need a motion.
We do need a motion. That's true.
Make a motion to accept CPA 1701 as written.
All right, moved by Mr. Hersom. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, and I have a second by Mrs. Baker. Any last comments or questions? All in favor, therefore, signify by saying aye. Aye. Passes unanimously. Excuse me. Okay. We will now move on to item B, the quasi-judicial LDR 1702. All public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimonies, limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. The procedure we will follow for this item is that we will first hear from the applicant with no time limit. The applicant will then be subject to cross-examination, and the staff will then enter the staff report into the record and answer questions. The applicant will have the opportunity for rebuttal of any testimony against the application. Then the floor will be open for public comment. Each presentation is limited to 5 minutes. Members of the public will have an opportunity to question the applicant or staff. The applicant will have an opportunity for closing arguments, and then the public hearing will be closed, and the board will enter into deliberations. Do we need to administer the oath one more time? Anyone intending to give testimony on this item, please stand now and raise your right hand.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate that. All right, Mr. Applicant, would you like to present on this item?
Well, and Mr. Mayor, while the applicant's coming
Oh,
up.
I'm sorry, we have
I
one-
just
one
wanted to
more
go back
procedural thing.
through. This is obviously a very similar application, but if all of our members could just confirm on the record that they have not received ex parte communication on the actual rezoning of the property.
I am not.
I have not.
I have not.
I have not.
I have not.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr.
My name is Kurt Sieber, and I'm acting as agent for John P. Morehouse and requesting that the board consider the rezoning of the subject parcel based on a lot of what I've already said.
We appreciate that.
All right?
Okay. If you feel comfortable that you've covered it already,
Yes.
we'll take the
Okay.
the information you
Thank
gave us. I'm sorry. Did anyone have any questions for Mr. Sieber on this item? I didn't mean to jump the gun there. All right. Well, staff, can you please come enter your staff report into the record?
Wendy Kinzer, Principal Planner for the City of Newberry, and I have been previously sworn, and please enter this application and packet into the record, the staff report. This is a request for rezoning of the current zoning with agriculture to commercial intensive category, and that would fit into the commercial land use designation that you just looked at for the comprehensive plan amendment. And in this rezoning, it's the commercial intensive use allows for commercial general types of uses already within that category, and then allows a little bit more intensive uses in that it, let's see, I don't have that. It allows for, let me grab my paper. In that case, the commercial intensive does allow for this type of use, and that you'll see that the different kinds of uses have to do with service establishments. They've got, let me think, I've got a blank. Upholstery, cabinet making, different kinds of uses where they're doing warehousing and storage, that kind of use. And it's geared toward uses that are over, is that 2,000 square feet or 2,500? Over 2,500 square feet in size. So this would fit that bill. And it also, because it, again, it provides that step down of intensity of uses from the industrial Watson Construction down to the highway and residential. And then you've got further to the south, you also have other automotive uses. You have a map in your packet that shows your future land use, and then now also we're looking at the zoning, and that map goes through and shows that you have the different colors that represent the different zoning classifications. You'll see there's a lot of commercial in that, and industrial, the gray being industrial and the red being the commercial. So this would fit and be consistent with the uses that are already out there and provide a mechanism to make this development possible. And the uses that are allowed in commercial intensive would be appropriate in this location.
All right, thank you, Wendy. Does anyone on the board have any questions for Wendy? No. You did such a good job. You answered all of our questions right off the bat. Would the applicant like to take the opportunity to rebut anything that staff said? All right. The floor will now be open for public comment, limited to 5 minutes. If anyone from the public would like to make a comment. Seeing none, would the applicant like to take the opportunity for any closing comments? No. All right. Now the public hearing will be closed and the commission will enter into deliberations. Does anyone on the board have any final comments, concerns that they'd like to read into the record for the city commission to be made aware of when they go? All right, hearing none. Remind me, did we
Well,
get?
the only thing I'd like to
Mr.
add,
Boyer.
that if we get this approved, that I'd like to say welcome to Newberry, and I'm sure Newberry would be very glad to have your business here.
I ditto those comments. We think you made the right decision coming to us. So, do I have a motion? I do not. So I need a motion to approve quasi-judicial LDR 1702.
Motion to approve LDR 17-02 as written.
I have a motion from Mr. Boyer. Do I have a second? I have a second from Ms. Lard. Any last comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Did you have one? Aye. Okay. Passes unanimously. Congratulations. We will submit this recommendation to the City Commission. Okay. Topics. I'm not understanding this last. Do we need to do something for announcing date applications will be heard? 'Cause there's no, this is an item C. This applies to both of these, so.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we just need to state the intended date that the items will be heard by the City Commission.
And do you have those
First hearing.
dates?
It would be the second meeting in May. So the 22nd.
May 22nd? Okay.
Just to point out, it takes two, because both of these are passed by ordinance, it'll take two
readings.
two readings.
So we have a little ways to go, but the first step is complete.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we'll move on to topics from members for discussion. Mr. Boyer, you want to have anything that you'd like to bring to the board's attention? We welcome you to the board. We thank you for volunteering for the service. We do appreciate it. It's a lot of time commitment, and we do appreciate that. So
Looking to see if we can't make a difference and grow our community.
awesome. Ms. Laird, do you have any topics you'd like to bring forth? Mr. Herson?
No.
Ms. Baker?
I have nothing.
All right. The only topic I have is that you, for new members and old members alike, we certainly can email you your packets. That generally, since it's a lot of documentation, we put it on the OneDrive. It's the cloud. You go and download it all. If that's a problem for you, you would prefer a hard packet, just please get with Miss Jean Evans back there raising her hand, and she can provide you a hard copy, figure out how to mail it to you, truck mail it to you, hand deliver it to you, chisel it in stone. She's really good at that. Throw rocks at your house. So just without communication from you, the default will be an email with that link. If you need anything else, however we can make it easier for you to do this job as volunteers to the community, we want to make sure that we get that to you. We've already talked about my comments about changing the structure of this, and Bill Conrad's application is sort of on hold if those if those move, he could fill this seat as well. And that would do it for myself. Did you have a comment, Ms. Lard? No? I thought I saw you might be reaching there. Okay. Does anyone in the public have any comments before we adjourn? Hearing none, we are adjourned.